All right, this is the college search webinar. This is all about how to go about the how to go about searching for a college and the information that you might be interested in before you choose which direction to take. So there are a few things that we're going to be looking at. The types of colleges that we you can go to, in addition the types of degrees that you can get, the timing that you can use to go, whether it's full time, part time, or online, and any aid that you can utilize once you're there. All right, so there are four different types. The first two are whether you go to a community college or a university, and then the second part of the four types are whether you get an associate's degree or a bachelor's. So, community college has a variety of options for you to choose from. You can get an associate's degree, which is 2 years, a certificate, which is usually a year or 6 months, and you can also use transfer credits to go to a university after you decide what you want your degree to be in. There are some community colleges that have bachelor's degrees, and also, there are plenty of trade certifications, including nursing, computer repair, and firefighting, depending on what you want to do with your career. Community colleges are also known as trade schools or junior colleges. They are very cost effective if you're unsure about the direction that you want to go. It's also beneficial because they're open enrollment, which means that you just need a high school diploma or a GED to get in. You do not need a required GPA, which a lot of universities these days are very competitive about the GPA and the SAT scores. Those are not required to get into a community college. Community colleges also serve local interests in the community rather than being a privately funded institution. It Tuition generally low, and a lot of the services that are provided not just for those just out of high school, but also for people in the community who just want to learn. It can also be a good test run if you're thinking about going to a college or university and you're unsure. It's good to have a year where you're staying close to home and learning what college is like because it's very different. I will say that community colleges are not exactly like this. If my computer responds. All right, obviously that's an older clip, but that's from a show that's called Community. It's really, really funny. It's about a group of people who are going to a community college. It obviously does not give you a good picture of what being at college really is like, but it's still a very entertaining show, and I wanted to show you that. All right, universities are beneficial in the ways that they provide a wider range of subjects to study than community colleges. So there's a lot to major from. You can search nationwide on what you want to major in, and then based on that, choose a good college or university. It also gives you a very stereotypical college experience, which is living in dorm rooms, eating college food, kind of being away from home, being independent, which can be very beneficial. It also, depending on the school that you go to, has a higher caliber of educators than you're used to. A lot of these professors are going to be PhDs and experts in their fields, which is very interesting to learn from people who are experts in their fields. And I went to a liberal arts college, which meant that I had to study some of everything. So I had philosophy professors and psychology professors and all sorts of, biology professors that I would not be exposed to if I had gone to a community college or if I had gone to a college that just had me focus on my major, which was interesting and beneficial in my life. It also exposes you to new people and new cultures because when you go to a university, more often there are going to be people coming from different countries and different states. So you'll be exposed to people who are coming from a different point of view, which helps to enhance your own point of view on the world. There are a few drawbacks of this, and they are that there are fewer degree type options. Most universities and colleges only offer bachelor's degrees, bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. Very few offer associates. And so if you want to have that option, then it would be better if you went to a community college first, at least just to give you that option. And if you decide, you can always transfer to university. It's very difficult to transfer from a university um, to another one that would offer an associate's degree. There's also more competition to get in, which adds a lot of stress. Like, as I said, a lot of universities are competitive when it comes to GPAs, SATs, etc. It's so that's something to keep in mind. Um, it also, while the college experience is great, going away can be hard because for those of us with Noonan syndrome, changing doctors and changing support systems when we're going away, and especially out of state, is really hard because if we have a lot of specialists and have a finite amount of time to see them when we're on college breaks, then things are gonna feel squashed and rushed, and it's harder to process all that. So there are two types of degrees that I really wanted to focus on. The first is the associate's degree, and this gives you more career opportunities than just a high school diploma. A lot of people say that if you have an associate's, then you will be living above the poverty line. It's not a guarantee. There's no guarantees in this world, but you have a better statistical chance to live above the poverty line if you have an associate's at the very least. The other thing is that it's a financial benefit. You're going to school 2 years instead of 4, so it's going to cost you less. Oftentimes, also associate's degrees are vocational and they're designed to give you more real world experience. A lot of times, bachelors are earned strictly in the classroom, and you don't really get much real world experience until you're out into the job market. You also have the option to continue on to your bachelor's and your master's if you feel that you're able to. I will note that college is a lot harder than high school. It's a lot less structured from other people, and you have to do a lot of the structuring. Also, not there isn't as much room for excuses. There are some drawbacks to an associate's. Some employers won't view it as highly as a bachelor's. There's also a limited learning opportunity because you only have 2 years to learn. And statistically, yes, people with an associate's on average, earn less than people with a bachelor's. Also, benefits aren't always as great. All right. And the bachelor's. Um, a bachelor's is all about broad learning opportunities. You statistically earn more, get better benefits, there's a better and greater variety of careers that you can take for your future. Your career tends to advance more if you have a bachelor's on your resume. You also develop skills like time management and get experiences like study abroad, which are great for both your resume and just experience as a whole. That being said, there's often less real world experience if you get your bachelor's, and it's also a greater challenge. It's more expensive. I will also note that it's harder in general just because of the developmental delay that we have to adjust to the speed at which um, you need to operate to earn your bachelor's. I kind of, in retrospect of earning my bachelor's right out of high school, I kind of wish that I had waited a couple of years and, gotten a job or something just to catch up with myself in a way, just because those first couple of years of college, I really didn't understand what I was doing there and what I wanted to do. It wasn't really until my junior year that I really started getting focused and taking a direction. And I largely attribute that to the developmental delay that I just wasn't ready yet. So that is another thing that you have the option of doing, is just to take a gap year or take a couple of years off. A gap year is oftentimes something that is done in European schooling where people take a year off and go volunteer somewhere. A lot of people get overseas jobs. It's generally used to earn that real world experience that a lot of people lack if they go directly from high school to their bachelor's. So that is something else that you can do, is just take a gap year and do something either fun or educational or interesting, and you can do that. All right. So, timing. There are three kinds of timing that I want to talk about. The first is going to be part-time. With part-time, you take fewer classes. So a full load is 5 to 6 classes per semester. Depending on the school, part-time is going to be 4 to 3. Typically, it's 3. This gives you more of an opportunity to focus on each class and gives you flexibility for a job or your medical life or other things going on. It often, I felt when I took a couple of years where I was doing a part-time job as well as going to school part-time, and I actually found it easier to focus on the classes that I had because I only had 3 subjects going on at once. When you're at university or at college, you have 5 different subjects that you have to keep straight, and that can be really hard around finals time because you're studying for 5 different subjects and you're expected to basically regurgitate all this information, but just within the walls of that class. You can't just borrow from one class and expect to do well. You have to kind of make sure that everything's separated out, much like high school, I suppose. Um, However, with associates, a lot of people are less likely to graduate, or sorry, with part-time work, a lot of people are less likely to graduate because it takes longer and people get distracted with life the older that we get. You're also oftentimes ineligible for dorm life, and it's a non-traditional college experience. I listed that in the cons. I don't want to say that a non-traditional college experience is bad. Some of you might say it's bad. I don't really think that there is a bad in your college experience, but it's going to be different. It's going to be different from the way that people talk about what college is like. So then there's full time. Statistically, you're more likely to graduate if you go full time. You're eligible for dorm life. This is often helpful when you're studying because oftentimes final week the entire dorm shuts down and everybody's studying. So it's not like you're living at home where your mom has her stuff going on and your dad has his stuff going on and all your siblings and your pets are bugging you about stuff right before finals. With dorm life, it's everybody's studying exactly, the same stuff that you are, so they're not going to bug you. It's also beneficial if you are only concentrating on school. Obviously, we can't just put off our medical stuff, but a lot of the other things when you're in college just kind of fade to the background and you don't think about it as much, which is pretty typical for everybody in life. It is when you go off to college, you just don't think about paying bills or any of the adult stuff because it's just not yet time. Um, and it's good to concentrate on only school. It is, as I said, it is harder to juggle your school and your medical stuff when you're full time. For some of you, this might be as much of an issue if you only have to go to a couple doctors once a year. Others might have a harder time because it's it, your life takes more maintenance. There's also, I will point out that there's less wiggle room when you're sick. Um, for those of us with immune issues, it gets winter, we all get sick. Missing classes aren't always something that professors appreciate. Um, and it's a lot harder to catch up because it's a lot of information that is given in those classes. Online. So I'm a big fan of online schooling. Most of the time, you are given the materials to study for a week, and then assignments are due by the end of the week. This is great for those of us with JHS because if we have bad days, we can deal with the bad days, and then we can do our homework on the good days. And you can also revisit the materials, which is great for those of us who have processing issues or short-term memory issues. Also, repetition helps with that. I will also say that it is easier because there's no commute and you don't have to deal with the weather. You can just focus on everything being on the internet. I will say that, with the cons, it does limit your interaction with other people. So like I said, with the dorm life is that you're exposed to other people from other walks of life. You're not talking to those people every single day. I mean, you might be chatting with them on through the computer, but you're not as exposed. It will limit your interaction somewhat. There's also a stigma to online school. I think this stigma is starting to go away because a lot of people want to go to the really good schools but have jobs in certain cities and can't go to the really good school that they got into. So that gives them the opportunity to go to to attend the program that they want to while still maintaining their job and their life. Um, or or what have you, if you're staying at home and need to focus on your medical stuff to a degree, you are able to do that while also having the ability to earn a degree. It also doesn't develop your time management skills. You kind of have to already have those because everything's on you when it's online. It's you have the course materials and you're expected to learn them on your own. A professor is not lecturing at you or giving you assistance when you have questions. You just kind of have a video and some reading material, and that's pretty much it. There's also a lack of choice when it comes to credible sources. A lot of the bigger schools like Harvard and Northwestern University in Chicago and University of Chicago and University of California are starting up their online schools, but majors are limited and they're still kind of working out the kinks of that system. All right, so aid. Aid is super important when it comes to us. So there are two types of assistance that I really want to talk about: educational, and then I put it in other, but it's more of a lifestyle assistance when you come to college. I will say a lot of the educational assistance will apply to anybody who's going to any post-secondary degree uh, school, whether it be community college, junior college, or a university or college, part-time, full-time, what have you. The educational assistance will all be applicable. The lifestyle assistance is more for those who are going to college full-time for their bachelor's more and just need an extra leg up when it comes to the typical college experience. So educational assistance. Tests are a big one, so I want to cover this first. There are a bunch of options depending on the school that you go to, but extended time and quiet rooms are great. Quiet rooms are essentially that you do not have to take a test in the classroom with depending on the class, either 20 to 150 other students. You can take a test in a room by yourself. For those of us with focus issues, this is key because I know when I'm sitting in a classroom with 150 other people, regardless of how quiet people are being, the tapping of the pens, the writing, the muttering, I get distracted so easily by other people. And being in a quiet room by yourself is really, really nice. Extended time is also a big one. It basically gives you, for those of us who have writing issues or whatever your learning disability is, you can apply to essentially not require a time limit on the time that you take the test. You can take the time to process the question and work everything out, and basically it gives you the chance to breathe and not feel that tension that you're always on the clock and you're never going to get everything finished. You can also apply for a use of a scribe. That's going away less and less. It's less and less needed because of computers. So classroom accommodations, you can request a note taker. So somebody would take notes for you while the professor is lecturing. So while I would recommend you taking notes, because that is another tip to give you the ability to focus on what the professor is saying. We don't always get everything, so it would be good to be able to have that second set of notes to fall back on, essentially. You can also get copies of PowerPoint as well as the lecture notes from the professor. You can request those. And that also helps as a study aid to essentially make sure that you've gotten everything that the professor was talking about. Use of computers. So a lot of professors don't like computers in their classrooms, but you can apply, especially for those of us with joint hypermobility, you can apply to be allowed to use your computers in all class activities, including exams. I applied for this and it was immensely useful my last semester. I didn't even know that I was allowed to do this until my last semester of college. If I had to do it over again, I would have applied my first semester of college, because I was able to go from being on probation every single semester to getting on the dean's list, all because I was able to use a computer in all my class activities. And it's essentially that you go to the disability department on this. You can't ask for any of these things from the professors. You have to actually go to the disability department, and this is all covered under a 504 and as well as the ADA. So these are federal. We are no longer in high school. These are federal programs that cover our rights. The other thing that I would recommend is if you're going to go to a university and get your bachelor's, whether full-time or part-time, use the labs. There are math labs and English labs that assist you with your homework. Also writing centers for any papers that will help you with your grammatical mistakes. I know from experience that my grammar is horrendous, and writing centers really help me work that out. Tutors are also available, as well as books in alternate formats for those who have dyslexia or other text-based disabilities. You can request for it to be in a different format, which will assist you with understanding the course material without needing to read everything all the time. Other assistance. So there's lots of different assistants on a campus. One is adapted transportation and parking. So you are eligible to, if there are multiple campuses at the college, you are eligible for them accommodating you to drive you between campuses. Oftentimes, they offer door-to-door assistance, which is really, really helpful because that will get you where you want to go, as well as parking, handicap parking. That is something that you will probably also have to register with the state if you are driving, just because of how handicap parking passes work. The other things are housing accommodations. There are dorms that allow assistance animals. Dorms do allow assistance animals just because of federal law. You can also apply for single person housing and cite a disability. Those of us who have sleeping issues or just focus issues, there's tons of reasons why you would want a single person dorm, and people with disabilities do get priority over everybody else on campus, which is kind of beneficial. You can also get assistance in your class scheduling. They will assist you with helping you optimize your class schedule. Oftentimes you're also eligible for early registration. Depending on the campus, there are support groups, modifications of a meal plan for those of us with GI issues. It really depends on the campus what these lifestyle-based accommodations can offer. So I would highly recommend when you're looking at colleges to look on their website and look at the disability department and see what they offer. All right, and that's my presentation on college churches and what you should be looking for and what you should be looking at. I realize that I'm not really talking about areas or specific schools because that's really up to you. What you're looking for in a school should really be about your interests and trying to match you to a culture of a school that kind of matches your personality because you want to insert yourself in the lifestyle of the school. I really just wanted to give you a layout of the difference between community colleges and universities, as well as associates and bachelors, full-time, part-time, and online, without the stigma of that a lot of college church courses will give you, because a lot of high schools are pushing everybody toward university because they're not. It's not about the individual. They're looking at the big picture, which is they're trying to get the entire class to go off to post-secondary degrees. So yeah, that's my presentation. If you have any questions, you can always give me a call or email me at kat@teamnoonan.com. I know Katie Ryan on our Facebook group, who currently attends a junior college, has also offered up her email address, so you can email her anytime about questions. And that is our presentation.